In here. All right. Hot Breathiverse. Thank you for your patience there. We are back with another Hot Breath, the show where you learn comedy from the pros. I am your host, comedian Joel Byers, and our guest today, out of over 300 comics we have interviewed on here, this is the comic that inspired me to start my comedy career. And he doesn't like being called a comedian, he likes being called a storyteller that has humor with a punch. We'll get into that. But the first time I saw his album, 20 Stories Tall, and then his special, 10 Stories Tall, and just his unique point of view, regardless of what he is, you call him a singer, a comic, just an overall man of God. He is one of the funniest minds on the planet, and we're so thrilled to have him here in the Hot Breathiverse. Let's welcome the one and only Mark Lowry, everyone. Let's show him some love.
Hello, Joel. So good to be with you on your show. If they knew how much trouble we had, because I just went live recently, and you got on there and said, "Hey, Mark, I'm going to talk to you in a few minutes." And I said, "Can we start a little early?" And you said yes, because I have physical therapy at 2:00.
Yes.
Come on in, everybody. Have a seat. I'm talking to Joel Byers, who's a comedian, and he tells me that my stuff inspired him, and I'm honored. So I'm live with you guys. He's live with his people, and then he's also recording this for you do a video podcast.
I have a YouTube channel, Hot Breath Comedy Network, and a podcast called Hot Breath.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody, you can get that if you want to.
Yeah.
So let's go. What do you want to ask me?
So tell me how important I am. So we'll I know we started early. We ended up starting right when we planned to, which is hilarious. So yeah, we'll keep this rather tight, but I would be interested to ask first off, what is it in researching you don't like to be called a comedian, and you're very intentional about not being labeled a comic. Why is that?
Well, it's because I'm scared. I'm serious. When you say, "Here comes a comedian," you better be funny. You know, and I honestly got my start with no intention of ever being funny. I was trying to do something between the songs because the Lord called me at college. I mean, I'm a Christian, and therefore I've been labeled a Christian comedian, but I never gave myself that title. I think I'm a storyteller, because what I did, I went to these little churches, and I would sing a song and tell a story, sing a song, tell a story. And I thought the songs were the most important thing. But what I come to find out, what people really enjoyed the most, and what I actually enjoy the most probably, is talking and hearing people laugh. And I come from a, funny family. My brother's a lot funnier than me. At least that's what he tells me. And my dad, he's a funny guy, and his brothers, oh my gosh, you would go to a Lowry family reunion, and everybody has two gifts. They can all talk and listen at the same time. Because there's 10 conversations going all over that room, and everybody's tuned into every conversation, and then we're making comments into those conversations. And it's a great life for the attention deficit disordered person that I am.
But that's what resonated, I think, with your comedy is, and I think you first realized you were funny when you made your brother's friends laugh. I believe that's correct. And then,
well, they weren't really his friends. My brother did some modeling in Houston.
Yes.
And
see,
so
that's where you get it from. Yeah.
Well, he was good looking. No. I had to be funny, or I would not have been noticed.
Funny and a mullet. Let's not forget the mullet you had.
Yeah, I grew into that years later. No, when I was a kid, we had burr haircuts. You know what a burr is?
A burr.
Burr. It's just shaved right to the scalp. My dad gave us one every summer, and I loved it. I would still wear it like that, except I look like Uncle Fester from the Addams.
So you're scared to be called a comic, even though you're proven to be funny.
Well, I understand people have to label you something, and that's not the worst thing. But I just think if you say, "Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now welcome the funniest guy," and he's so funny, well, you better be funny.
That's true.
Right?
It's
And
true.
I would rather them say, y'all, this guy is going to bore you into oblivion. And then because see, let me tell you, when I started out in those independent fundamental Baptist churches that wouldn't clap because that's giving glory to men. Yeah, I see your face. They wouldn't shout because they're afraid someone might think they're doing it in another language, but they would laugh.
Oh.
And I knew they were listening. And all I cared about is, are these people listening? Because you couldn't tell by looking at them. You know, independent Baptists, and back in my day, they were deader than a doornail. Now they love Jesus and they memorize those scriptures, but they do not want to be thought of as charismatic. And so they wouldn't, that's giving glory to men if you applaud. They'd say amen at the end of a song or something, but they wouldn't, I don't know. It's all changed now and it's gotten better.
Have you ever done
But,
comedy clubs or anything?
oh Lord, no.
Oh, so not even tried, not even
I
curious.
tried one time, that was enough. I
What
scared
happened?
out of my mind. Well, my dad went with me. It was a guy that I'd met who owned a comedy club in Atlanta when I lived in Ackworth.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, I lived in Ackworth for a while.
Oh,
When
that's
I
so
joined the vocal band, I was living in Ackworth, Georgia.
wow.
Yeah. So I met a guy who owned a comedy club and he had seen me and he thought I could do it. He said, you got all these faces and you got you can do this. And he talked me into it and I never did it again.
But what happened? Let's get
Oh,
into the
well, I think they laughed, but it wasn't the kind of laughter I was used to. I don't know
Mhm.
what was different about it. First of all, my crowd is usually sober.
Yes.
And I'm not counting for all of them, but most of them. And I'm kidding about that. I mean, and I know where they're coming from. I know how they think. I'm one of them. I was raised with them. I don't want to leave them. I don't want to go do. I did an interview for People magazine. They said, "Do you want to cross over?" And I said, "Yes, if I can take the crossover." But I don't want to go without him.
Uh-huh.
And I have no desire to do that. I've never had, it's not my calling. And I thank God for people like you and others, Jeff Foxworthy, that
Mhm.
loves the Lord, and he is hauling the water to the desert. Well, I'm fine with singing for the choir.
Have you ever bombed on stage then? Do you ever have an experience like
Oh,
that?
Lord, yeah. With Bill one time, with Bill Gaither, what was so glorious about the humor that we created, really, because when I joined him, I had never done anything but monologues.
Oh.
I'd never had another person on stage with me. So I would do a monologue and he would interrupt me from the piano bench. And then I'd turn around and sass him. And that led to this and that, the other. And after a few nights of me sassing him, we got rid of the monologues that I was doing. That just stayed in my solo shows. And he and I created this. He's the old man, and I was the perpetual 10-year-old, jumping around, making fun of his hair. They always kept my mic on because you could not, if my mic wasn't hot, the joke was over by the time they turned it up. You know that.
Mhm.
Timing,
Timing.
you know. So Bob told them to keep my mic hot. So they did, and which I loved, of course. And some things worked, some didn't. One night, something I said didn't work that popped in my head, and it was crickets. And Bill said, "Well, that didn't go on stage." He said, "Woo." I said, "Well, I'll just save that for when I go secular." Right?
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. The audience didn't care because they knew, I had no ever. I mean, if they knew me, they know I don't care about going secular. We had 20,000 people the night I said that on stage. Very few secular shows have 20,000 people.
Yeah.
That's when Gaither was at the height of the vocal band. I mean, we were soaring. Howard and Vestal were alive. That big homecoming tour was on the road. It was huge. And Bill caught me at intermission and said, "You're going to go apologize to that crowd." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you said that's for when you go secular." And I'm going, is this man lost his mind? Surely he knows, they know. I'm kidding, I guess. And I said, "I'm not doing it." He said, "Oh yeah, you." I said, "Read my lips." I'm not apologizing for saying that. And so then I thought about it. And then I got up there that afterwards, I wasn't going to let him force me to do anything. I'm not going to apologize for anything I've ever said unless I feel like it. That's a lie. If you're apologizing because someone twisted your arm, you're not sorry. But I thought it over. And I got up and said, listen, y'all, Bill chewed me out at intermission, told me I have to apologize to y'all because I said that joke was for when I go secular, the one that bombed. And I said, let me just tell you this. We have 20,000 people here tonight. Where am I going to go? If I want a bigger crowd, where am I going to go?
Seriously.
And I'm not called to go secular. I thank God for those people who are. I'm not called to be a plumber either, but I thank God for those people who are. I'm not called to be a doctor, but I thank God for Dr. Michael Greaser who fixed my foot.
I was going to say, you're not called to ride any scooters again as well.
Ever.
So we learned that after breaking your leg twice doing that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I broke my leg twice on that same road. Yeah, this has gotten too serious, hadn't it? This is supposed to be funny.
No, this is like the inside the actor studio for comedians. We show like the stories behind the comics. So you're in good company. So
well, how many you got live on your? I got 1,500. How many you got?
Why you gotta do me like that, Mark?
Well, I remember when I did. Oh, because you're a puppy and you deserve to have fewer numbers.
We got 18 strong over here.
Good, I'm glad. But you know what? They matter.
I was going to say they do, but then when you threw out your number, like how many do you have? By the way, you know that we know that I have more. Just so you know.
Just so you don't think I'm lying.
You're on. I mean, every day you have hundreds of people on your live streams, but it's aspirational. You've raised.
You know what? Isn't it fun too?
It is fun.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, it is. Especially, 19 now. Not to brag. 19 now.
Especially during a pandemic, I love checking in on these people. First of all, now we got 1,600. They wouldn't be following me if they didn't, like me checking in on them. I like checking in on them. And see, what you don't understand, we don't do a lot of humor on the check-in. You watch it. Mm-hmm. We sing out of these old hymnals that I got my laptop jacked up on because we couldn't connect them. But I hate when they have the laptop like this, on those shows, and all you see is the most hideous part of the human body. All of this right here.
Singing out of their chin, yeah.
Oh, you got to get it up above the chins.
Yeah, I need to get better at singing. I want to incorporate that. Let me.
Well, I heard you. Now listen, I heard you a little bit, and I just let that go.
What about Joseph? Did you know? Maybe a remix.
Hey, it's kind of Elvis vibrato you got going there.
Oh, so I can sing.
Joseph, did you know?
No. Tell my wife, please.
Elvis vibrato. I'm working on Joseph. Did you know? What did I say? Mary, did you know? Joseph, did you know? And Jesus, we know you knew.
You're working. Are you being serious right now?
Oh, Lord, no.
I didn't know if you had a remix up your sleeve. Maybe a hip hop remix.
No. Did you know there is a disco version of Mary? Did you know?
I did not know. Mary didn't know that either.
Oh, and it's incredible. It's by a lady named Christine W. And she enunciates every word. And it's a Mary, did you? Mary, did you? I mean, it's a disco. And it played in disco bars all over the world one Christmas. And I didn't have to leave the house. And I told everybody in those bars what I think about Jesus. Now, is that not cool?
That's powerful. Yeah.
And I never had to leave the house.
You never have to. You've got. Yeah, you're good. You've got residuals on residuals. You don't have to leave the house ever if you don't want to.
Well, I love it.
It's well deserved, though.
Oh, we're down to 1,400. Get more entertaining.
Well, we're up to 20, so not to brag. We're up to 22 now.
So when people, let me ask you this, since you're interviewing me and I'm in, so if people want to come see you do your comedy, which I told you if you ever get to Houston, you need to let me know.
I will for sure.
But they can go to where to find out more about you?
My website is joelbyerscomedy.com. I have a comedy special on there called The Trophy Husband. And I have more info about my podcast and when I'll be back on the road and things like that. But
That's
I'm been doing comedy almost 11 years now, and Mark's the whole reason for the season.
unbelievable. And
So,
did I put that where they could see you? I don't
how
know
do
if I.
you? What was so cool in looking back at your stand up or your storytelling to prepare for this was like your ability to incorporate physicality into your performance. How do you tell a story like verbally, but then add that like fourth dimension of the characterization of it?
Well, can you give me an example of what story? I don't know. You mean my face?
Yeah, like your facial expressions are incredible.
Well, let me tell you a story about that. I Vidi Metzger of the Kansas City Youth for Christ. She and her husband, she just passed away. Godly, wonderful lady. And they had a channel 50 was the station in Kansas City. It was a Christian TV. It was the first time I was ever videotaped from beginning to end of one of my shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the young people at the Kansas City Youth for Christ, which was probably 1981, somewhere back. I graduated from college in 80, and by 1981, 82, 83, somewhere in there, I was going to Kansas City Youth for Christ once a year. Well, they videotaped one of my performances. And let me tell you, Joel Byers, it was the first time Mark Lowry had ever seen his faces. Now, I
Oh,
used to make faces in the mirror when I was a kid, just because we didn't have iPhones yet.
right.
We were limited with what we could do to entertain ourselves. And my lips, I'd get in the mirror and make all these faces, and I would die laughing, right? Yeah, that's one. And you got, yeah. And then like that or that can go either way.
Wow.
But so then, and my mother's very expressive. Her face was, she'd get mad, her eyebrows would shoot to the back of her skull, you know.
Yep.
And so I went with at first, let me just be honest with you. The night I remember it like it was yesterday. Laid, they had an office area at the Kansas City Youth for Christ, and they had a TV on a stand. That was back in the days when TVs were huge, not huge like they are now, but heavy. So sitting on a stand, I was lying. I was prostrate on the floor, and I think I got that one right. And uh, yeah, and I saw my faces for the first time ever, and I almost quit. I mean, I've had so many quitting periods in
Really?
my life and calling. First of all, the Lord didn't tell me it was going to turn into comedy. He called me to sing.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed, like I said, they looked bored when I sang, but boy, they'd sit on the edge of their seat when I started telling my tales.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, man, I better dance with who brung me. So I think the Lord was sneaky. He did not let me know. If he'd have said, Mark, I want you to go into comedy, I'd have found myself in the belly of a whale, if you know what I'm saying. Jonah and the whale, remember?
Oh, I'm
They,
listening to you.
he called the prophet, and the prophet ran. Because, well, you know, I mean, oh, Lord, if he'd have told me, because that's scary to me. And if you're not a little bit scared, you're kind of simple to
Mm.
get up and think you can make a room full of people laugh.
Yeah.
Aren't you a little nervous? Those butterflies. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a good feeling now. It's like, ooh, it's like, ooh, that gives me energy. I'm ready to go.
For sure.
But in the early days, it was like, oh my goodness, what?
Yep. And then some days it's up, other days it's down, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna be the next big comic. And then the next day you're like, oh, I'm
But
quitting comedy and going back to Enterprise Rent a Car. I can't
right.
do this.
But the difference is you wanted to be a comedian, right?
Yes. Yeah, always. Always. And then I decided to do it senior year of college, the first time I actually tried it.
Hmm.
But I wanted to be a comedian my whole life. After hearing seriously 20 stories tall and you bringing your real life experiences to the stage and being so vivid about it. And my mom said that you reminded her so much of me and like our ADHD and our experiences with teachers. And we're gonna wrap this up here in a minute here,
Yeah.
just so you can get to your physical therapy. But I want to bring on a special guest
Okay.
because This is the person responsible for us even being here today.
Oh, really? It
Yes.
must be your mother.
It is. Let's give it
How
up for
wonderful.
Mama Joel in here.
Hey,
Mama.
Mama.
Mama Joel in here. Hey.
Hey, Mark.
Hi.
Oh, hold on. I got to get my screen
Get
right.
Mom on the screen.
There we go.
Wait, I don't see her. I see
Oh, she's on the Zoom.
Okay, then I got to get up in the corner to see her. Okay, go ahead. Hi, Mama.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mom. Look at
Can you
us.
see? Hey.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Well,
jumping
it's so
on.
nice to meet you. You seem to have a very nice son.
I do. I do. Yeah.
Do you like his comedy?
I do. I do.
Does he ever embarrass you?
Sometimes.
Well, yeah, he better.
The territory.
Well, you know, my mom, she had a lot of kids come up to her and say, "Are you really a screamer?" And she said, "Well, that's the way he heard it." And
Yeah, there was a lot of commonalities in your stories, and when Joel's sisters heard the stories on 20 Stories Tall, they said, "That's Joel, that's Joel." Now, I do have one question about your mama. Did she really witness to the obscene phone callers?
Oh, no, it wasn't obscene. Oh, well, yeah, she would. Yeah, definitely. But the Madeline Murray O'Hare one.
Oh my gosh.
Is the one I remember most specifically. Oh yeah, but she lived for an obscene phone call, but we didn't get many, you know.
Yeah.
Once you tell them about Jesus, they usually lose your number.
Yeah, but she's planting those seeds.
Oh yeah, she witnessed at the Kroger lady. I got my hair cut one time, and she had that barber on his knees before we left. And
oh, that's all. This is history right here, Mark. I've never brought my mom on the show before, but I had to for you.
I'm so honored.
I love that your mom called you hyper creative. Because I always thought of Joel as Tigger and did not want to temper that because he wasn't being Tigger all over the place on everybody's nerves. He just wasn't, he wasn't being Joel. But I loved your stories about Miss Holland. I'm a retired teacher. And
she just recently passed away.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Joel had a teacher in the 3rd grade, Miss Frida Greer. I've tried to find her. She saw in Joel what other teachers didn't appreciate. So she was great. He did have some really good teachers who did appreciate his sense of humor and imagination, his hyper creativity.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm fixing to take this broken foot.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you for hanging out, Mama.
Hey, Mama, thank you. You're young enough to be my daughter, I can tell, so I can just call you by the first name, Linda. God bless you.
Yes, Mark, call me. Actually, you're only about 2 weeks older than I am.
Oh, is that right? Well, Joel, you can call me Mr. Lowry from now on.
Yes, sir, Mr. Lowry. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything you want to promote or anything?
Oh, tonight, Shonda Pierce and I are going to be together on her little show. She's charging tickets, and this is the second time she's done it. It's me, Ken Davis, and Shonda, and I don't know what we're going to do, but probably won't be half as entertaining as this was.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark Lowry. Thanks for making me a comedian.
Hey, Joel. God bless you, buddy.
God bless you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mark.